Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. First off, I want to welcome everybody. All the new subscribers have had a whole bunch come on here lately, and I love having you. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the content and that you'll contribute to it. Also, all the ones who have come over on Patreon. Uh, I've really been amazed at how many people have come over there here recently. I welcome all of you, and if you're not over there, I kind of explain to you the difference. Here on YouTube, I kind of paint with a broad brush. We talk about mainly um, preparedness and things like that, of course. Um, Over on Patreon, of course, everything that I put here on YouTube is also on Patreon, but we get into the finer points. I paint with a sharper brush over there. We get into details. We talk more about the politics, about what's going on in the world, how these things affect us, and what we think should be done. It's a very good conversation. Got some super sharp people over there that I love reading the comments. Got great comments here on YouTube too. No diminishing the folks here, but if you're really serious about what we think is getting started here in our country, um, I encourage you to come over to Patreon. It's only $1 a month. I don't have different levels or anything. You get it all for $1. Um, and you're going to get, I think, a lot more there. And also, if you're a person who likes to contribute and you believe that your thoughts are valuable, it's a place for you to contribute as well. And we like that. I see that my books are here. I had a question before I get into the meat of today's video. Had a question. Somebody asked me, said they had bought my books or they bought one of my books or were going to, I forget what. And, but they weren't sure which was the first one. And so let me turn this here. I think if I do there we go. Okay. I'll keep it like that. My book's there. Um, that starts off with the reversion as the first one, then the revival, then the renewal, and then the fourth one, the last one out, was an appeal to heaven. Um, the fifth one will be out this spring. You can kind of tell. Let me get these over here for just a second. And you can tell, I put down here, you can tell which one's the first, because if you'll see down here, it's got 1 star there, right? That means number 1. And let's see here, I got them in the wrong order. There's got number 2 stars. I hope they're not just 1 and 2 stars books. I get mostly 4 and 5 stars on the reviews, but here's 3 stars. That's the third book, the renewal. And so, of course, on the fourth one, Appeal to Heaven, you've got the 4 stars. So that's an easy way to kind of keep them track of them, and to see which one you should read first and which one you should read next. Also, if you want autographed copies, there's something up here in my About section. There's a P.O. box that you can send a check to. It's $15 per book. You just let me know what you want me to sign in there and to whom. And the $15 covers the book and the shipping and the packaging and the signature and all that. All that I ask is that you not, don't expect me to say, well, you wouldn't anyway. If you're here, you're good folks. So I'm not going to write any lies, and I'm not going to write anything dirty. Other than that, just let me know what you want me to write, and I'll be happy to do it. Okay, now to the meat of this. I just put a video up over on Patreon about the shot heard round the world. A shot heard round the world. We're all familiar with the one in 1775 back in Lexington, Concord, that brought about the Revolutionary War. There was one the other day on Capitol Hill, and I'm sure you're familiar with what happened up there. We have a situation at hand. So if you want to see, the nit and the grit that I get into, just go on over there. It's over on Patreon. And I always leave the link down here, I think, in the comment section or wherever the information section is. Those of you who are new here, You don't yet know that I'm extremely stupid when it comes to this technology. I ask my son all the time about it. And so it's down there somewhere. It's below the title. It's a link to my books and a link to the Patreon page. So I grew up and live in Kansas. In Kansas, we are used to tornadoes. Now, you might think that we see them all the time. We don't, but we have them all around all the time. I've lived here all my life, and I've only seen one, but that one was something to see. And any of you who have seen a tornado can vouch for that. I was in 7th grade. I remember I was in 7th hour French class. Why I was taking French, I have no idea. But that tornado warning let off, and it'd been it was no big deal. It was a cloudy day, and so it was a great, we all loved the break in class, and so we went out of our room down to the lower level where we were supposed to go, and my school my junior high had a couple of glass bridges from one building to another. And I remember as I walked onto this one glass bridge, I looked up, and there that thing was. And it was at once the most beautiful yet terrifying thing I have ever seen. Later on, it was called the White Tornado because it hadn't touched down in farmland. And so, and when we saw it, it had just touched down. And so it had not sucked up a bunch of dirt and everything into it. And that's what gives, a tornado its dark colors. It's all the stuff that it's sucked up into it. This one hadn't done this. This had come down in the outskirts of the suburbs. And it had just got to going, and it was the most massive thing you can imagine. It was perfectly formed. It didn't have the rough edges that you see some of them do. Those big killer F5s. And I don't know what this was. I'm not sure if they even designated them back then. But this was smooth. Just smooth. And it came down and it tapered, kind of come down. It was almost, if you've seen a snake charmer and a cobra, it was just like that cobra up there, kind of like that. The unbelievable thing about it, if you can imagine something so huge that it goes from the clouds to the ground. Okay, now we can look up and see the clouds. We don't know how far up they are, but when you see that thing connecting the clouds to the ground, and it is so smooth, and it was almost just kind of, God, no, my hands look funny up there. It was just kind of, just a little bit, just moving just a little bit. So smooth. I was just struck, and I stood there just staring at that thing. Awe-inspired, yet scared, until a teacher had to grab me by my neck and haul me down. Afterwards, and I should say beforehand, it wasn't a particularly scary, stormy day. It was, a normal spring in Kansas. Had some clouds, has maybe some thunderstorms coming, and all of a sudden that came. After that left, and there's something about also for those of you who have lived in tornado areas, the sky sometimes, even if you don't see a tornado, the sky can look, and the air actually can almost look green. Well, afterwards, after it had passed, it did a lot of damage, took out a grade school and a lot of stuff. After it had passed, the air looked so clean. The sun came out. It looked like the whole world had been washed clean. Well, we see a storm coming in our country. And I'm not going to get into the details here on YouTube about it. That's over on Patreon. But there is a storm coming, and it is coming faster than a lot of people realize. And a lot of people aren't ready. When it takes off, and it's already gotten started, it's coming down out of the clouds. And it's going to be dangerous. The funny thing about tornadoes is that it can tear apart a concrete building and leave a card table standing with a box of Cheerios on it, untouched. True. You never know what's going to happen. It can be a lot of devastation, but you got those weird things. This storm that's coming our way has been building for a long time. And it is coming to a head. And like I said, this isn't where I'm going to be talking about the specifics of it, but the dangers of it are increasing rapidly. And it is time to be prepared in all things. The basics of preparedness, hopefully you're all up on that. Hopefully you have means of protection. There are those who want to take those away from us. We know all about that. We're dealing with that over on Patreon. Hopefully you have your food stores. Hopefully you have ways of purifying water. Hopefully you have all the things that are necessary to, and the list is not terribly long, but the basics. Hopefully you have everything that you need to be self-sufficient for an extended period of time. If the utilities go out, if the grocery store doesn't have any food, if the water department goes down, if you're ready, it's not going to affect you that much, except to be, inconvenient. Things will be more difficult than they were now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the world's going to become much more dangerous. First order is stay out of the cities. If you don't live in a city, don't go into the city. And by the city, I mean the city proper, every major city. And of course, the smaller cities aren't going to be the same. Springfield, Missouri is not going to be the same as Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. But there still could be some problems there. The smaller town you're in, the better off you're going to be. But anyway, back to the cities. If you don't live in the city, don't go into the city if you don't have to. If you work in the city, hopefully you're right now working from home, because when you go into the city proper, and that is when the outer suburbs end and the inner suburbs begin, that is a pit in which anything can happen. And the violence that's generated in cities out of hatred for all number of reasons is beyond that which most people are familiar with. Okay, the violence of a city is sudden. I always say that no attack happens without warning if you're paying attention, but the average person would usually fail to see the warnings of an attack coming. We have too many people that are, complacent, too many people that are used to living safe lives, too many people who kind of have this attitude, well, this is America, I have a right to go wherever I want to go. Well, yeah, sure. Hey, have at it, big boy. Go down, or big girl. Go down and do whatever you want. If somebody caps your butt, hey, don't say you weren't warned, right? Those things happen in the city. The city is a jungle. There's a reason they call it the asphalt jungle. It is a jungle. A jungle is full of things that want to kill you. And the city is full of things that will kill you in a hot second, for any number of reasons. Any number of reasons that would never cross a good person's mind. Okay? I know what I'm talking about. I was a cop in a city. I lived in the city. I ran the city for many, many years. And if you are not intimately involved, but if you're not intimately knowledgeable of the city, there's no way you could understand it any more than a guy that grew up in the city can go out in the woods and be able to function out there. So keep yourself out of a situation that you are not comfortable in dealing with, and in which you are not the apex predator. Okay, if you're down the food chain a little bit, you just stay out of there. Be careful everywhere else. I said this in another one. These things can flash. What's coming up in our political atmosphere right now, these things can flash anywhere. They'll flash in the suburbs. They'll flash in the small towns. They will flash on the highways. Keep your equipment close. Keep your defensive equipment on you or about or as close as you can to you. Keep your car in good order. Keep your gas tank full. Make sure that your tires are carrying the proper air. Check your oil. Check your washer fluid. Check everything. Your vehicle is extremely important. It's not only a fortress, but a weapon. And if it's working right, if you're not paying attention to it, it won't serve you the way you need it to. You better learn how to change a tire if you don't know how. Most of you hopefully do on this channel. But if you don't, the way to change a tire when there's a problem out there is not with your cell phone and your road hazard. You don't want to be sitting if things are going hairy and you're driving home out of a city and you get a flat tire down on the interstate down in the city. You don't want to sit there and wait for an hour and a half for some tow truck guy to come by and change your tire. Okay. That you're at the mercy of the next person who happens to stop. And this world is full of bad folks. Okay, you're putting yourself up as saying, well, whatever, I'll just depend on the kindness of the next stranger that comes along. Well, the police reports are full of people who did that, and it didn't work out well for them. So, make sure that everything's up to snuff. The main thing to keep in mind right now is to remind yourself. And I say this because I have friends that they say, when I watched your video, it reminded me that I needed to concentrate on that, because we go about our daily lives. It's easy to let these things slide. If you're not thinking about it all the time, I'm thinking about it all the time because that's my business, right? But most people aren't. If you're not thinking about it all the time, start thinking more about it. Your safety in every situation you're in, from the moment while you're in your home. I was going to say from the moment you leave your house, but no, while you're in your home. Then you leave your home. You drive to the store, on the way from your house to the store, on the way from your house to work, at the store, at work. You need to be watching everything around. I don't use all these cool tactical terms. I don't talk about OPSEC and keeping your head on a swivel and watching your six and all that. We just called it understanding what's going on around you. From the time we were little kids, our parents said, keep your eyes open, be cognizant of what's going around you, the people around you, and what's happening around you. Just do that. And have everything you need. Make a checklist. Do I have everything I need? If this happened, if that happened, if that happened, if that happened. Think about the things that can happen. What if it's you? Okay. What if it's you? You're watching a news story on TV or whatever, and you see the latest person that got killed. Well, where were they? What were they doing? In a lot of cases, it's just, it's stuff. It's the same kind of people killing each other. But sometimes, a lot of times, it's people that were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And ask yourself, why were they in the wrong place? First off, what's the wrong place? Stay out of there. I had a good friend of mine, one of the toughest guys I ever met. He liked to joke. He'd give self-defense seminars, and to kind of lighten the speech, because everybody was just in awe of this guy, and he's kind of a scary guy. So he wanted to kind of lighten the tone, So he'd get up and he says, "I've had my nose broken in 3 places. So I learned to stay out of those places." That's a good lesson. If you don't need to be somewhere that's dicey, don't go there. Okay. And learn. If you don't know, because I'm surprised how many people I talk to that don't understand what parts of town are dangerous. Talk to somebody who knows and believe them. Trust them. Take their word for it. Don't, come back and say, "Well, I've never had any trouble there." Well, neither did the last person who was killed down there or raped down there until they did. So thinking ahead, being proactive, being smart, assuming responsibility for your own safety is at the heart of basic preparedness. And it's going to be what gets you through dangerous times. Now, dangerous times are coming. There is a storm coming. What kind of storm is going to end up to be, we have yet to see. The extent of it, we have yet to see. But you don't wait until you're in the middle of the storm to decide how well you're going to prepare, right? Okay. So let's just keep those thoughts in mind. I do suggest if you're serious about this stuff and you have an interest, please join us over on Patreon, because I cover a lot more over there, and there are people over there in the comments that you can learn a lot from, and hopefully you can contribute to. If you think you have something to contribute, please don't keep it to yourself. Bring it over where people really appreciate it. And we don't have any snarks, so we don't have too many here, to be honest. We got some real nice folks here on this YouTube channel, and when occasionally one pops up, I just toss them. So anyway, you all be careful, get ready, understand what's coming, and talk to your friends and your family and your neighbors and encourage them to get ready, to be safe. And I'll leave you with what I always do, and that is we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And we do want to live well tomorrow. We don't want to be in a situation where we're just scratching for survival. We want to live well. But that means preparing well today, and it starts up here. Okay. You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.